Hey, you guys. Hope you're ready for some spooky and haunting. And you know what? I got to get a new intro for the paranormal shows. Here's the late horror show intro.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody. I'll be bringing Karen on in a second. But welcome to Paranormal Tonight on the Late Horror Show. What is going on, everybody? Good to have each and every one of you here. We're going to talk spooky and haunted tonight, even though I think me and Karen were going a little bit down the rabbit hole, veering off topic here. But anyways, that's neither here near whatever. Harry Scott, Edward Stewart, Connie Clary. You've been waiting for the show, Connie Clary. Who else is here? Let's see who start. Kathy is here. I know that. And Travis. Hopefully, Harry Scott. What's going on? Okay, let me bring Karen. I don't waste a whole lot of time. Bring the guest on and start talking. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Check out all the descriptions below because there is a link to all of Karen's books in the link underneath in the description, which takes you to Amazon where you can purchase the books. And there's two books in particular. Let me bring Karen on here. Hey, Karen, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful.
That's what you got to say, right, Karen?
Yes, you do. It's in the script you sent me.
And how's the last name pronounced? Laven?
No.
No, Laven.
Yes.
Okay. Why didn't I say that in the first place?
No, I get Laven all the time.
Karen Laven. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Got it. And yes, you are an author of several books, and I wanted to talk to you because of the two books you got that deal with the paranormal, the hauntings, and in the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. You're down there in Cincinnati, so you kind of probably are more focused in that area, and Dayton, which is close by.
Yes.
And the books are titled Dayton Ghosts. $14.99 paperback. You guys can go get it. It's listen, I love the paperbacks and the hardcovers. I wish they still would, do that, but everything's Kindle now. And Cincinnati Ghosts and Other Tri-State Haunts. So where to go from there? First, let me ask you how the heck you got into talking or writing about and researching the paranormal. Did you have any experiences or anything like that in your life?
Well, pretty much my whole life.
Oh, so you have. Okay.
Oh, good heavens, yes. Some of the stuff that happened in my life was the most dramatic. It's more dramatic than the books. It was just, but I just grew up with parents that were
well, I want to hear about it. Yeah.
Well, they were just like stuff happens, especially my father. He was always Bigfoot's around. There's aliens. They're very staunch Catholic, but he was just this is just the way it is. The house he grew up in was haunted, in a small Minnesota town. So he grew up with that and he was just like, it's there. I was never truly afraid. So if anything happened when experiences started happening with me, like for instance, I was babysitting and it was a brand new development, whatever. There was a woman there that would talk to me and the child, and we'd hear her walk across the floor. He'd say, "Mommy," and we'd get up and go, no one's there. And when he would be cry, she'd say, "It's okay." And he'd hear her and I'd hear her. But it was just so, I went home, told my folks, and my dad's like, "Yeah, do you feel scared or anything?" I said, "No, it's weird." But he said, "You don't feel, freaked out or worried or think it's evil?" I said, "No, she's actually nice. She tries to help me." And he just totally went, "That's cool."
And did you see her like right on? Was she clear as can be, or was she?
No, but it's one of the most vivid paranormal experience I've ever had because she would unlock the front door It was a deadbolt. The one night that he said, "Make sure you lock the deadbolt," whatever, and I always did, but I was just like, "Oh, geez." So he made me do it while right, he was standing on the other side.
Uh-huh.
Went and with the little guy, whatever, and I hear this thunk. I know the sound of it because I babysit there all the time. I
Yeah.
ran up, whatever, go over there. It was open, but no one was there. So it was just like she got how I felt about it. The footsteps were unbelievable, so clear, crisp in the kitchen, and also above. We would be in the den, usually the child and I, and very clear, and the voice several times, very clearly. That was just
So
it
you
was.
heard
Oh
that it
yeah,
was a woman.
it was totally yes. I felt like she was kind of the age of, his name is Craigie. Craigie's mom. I just felt that kind of, and I felt that she was very maternal. And I mean, I'm 12.
Right.
I felt it was okay. It almost felt like I was, because sometimes I'm that young, and it's a very small child, and sometimes anyone that remembers babysitting or whatever, or whoever did it, and you get your $5 and you get to get an album. I'm that old. And I would just sit there and be just like, how amazed to feel not so alone. And I felt like I had someone with me helping watch over. And it was just amazing.
Because the child could
Yes.
hear and see everything
Mama.
that you were.
Yeah. He'd hear the voice and say, Mama. Yeah,
Wow.
totally. He's
Okay.
a toddler.
Okay.
And he'd run to the kitchen because we heard her so it's not anything I came up with. This was absolutely
So
one of the
this
most,
was somebody else's house. So is it
yes,
just that you were open to
yes,
this your entire life? Are you psychic?
kind of. My
Okay.
aunt told me I grew up in Santa Monica,
Okay.
the first 6, 7 years. And my aunt told me I just knew stuff. I mean, I'd be like 3 or 4 and I'd know something was going on. I'd know something happened. She just said, "You just always did." Because I asked her when I got the contract to write these books, I just said, "Did you notice?" And she, "Oh, yes." Because it's not like you sit and talk about it at the family reunion, but she's like, "Totally. You totally knew stuff." And I have kind of my whole life. Yeah, I think the stuff's always there. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's always there, but it's the energy if you're open to it. Do you under it's like I think there's people that could have been babysitting that child and would not probably have heard her. I do
Mhm.
believe Craigie would have heard her and would have been, and they would have gone, "What's wrong with you, kid?" You know what I do that because he heard
Yeah.
very clear. He had that because he's probably because he was so young or whatever. But I do believe that you're either on that frequency, or you're not. And
Oh,
I
right.
mean, you can get closer to it, but
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think, either you're on that frequency, you're either exposed to something early on in life or and gifted with that to be able to see spirits, hear them, or connect with the other side.
mhm.
I think there's something to that. Hello, Black Roses. Edward Stewart, what's going on? Says, interesting. Last night we watched the Michigan Hell House documentary, Some Weird Things. Very
Cool.
cool. And Blob City, what's going on?
I love
Glad to
that
be
name.
here. Blob City, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Listen, we've got quite the family here. A lot of
That's
cool
awesome.
people here in the chat. So from the very earliest you could remember, you were dealing with kind of this stuff. So you're connected to the other side in some way or another. Um, you had that experience when you were younger. And listen, I know we're going to talk about the books. Listen, she's an author. She's got 2 books, so we're going to touch on it very soon. We got an hour and a half. We're going to talk. But I love to hear the personal stories of the people who have dealt with this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm asking her some questions before we get into the books. But I would say that's probably not the only thing that happened in your life, you know, ghostly or haunting wise. But I'd like to go back to your family because you said your dad dealt with Bigfoot.
No, he just said, it was like the early 70s. Remember that one video came out of
Yes.
Bigfoot? And, of course, everyone's like, what? And Dad's like, Karen, that's real. And I'm like, he goes, I don't know if this exactly is real, but Bigfoot exists. It was just so matter of fact. And he wasn't like, oh, ooh, he's just like, it's just, he goes, there's so much going on in the world and whatever. And there's so much we don't know. And to close it off because you don't want to know or you don't, see it is just ridiculous. He was a genius. His IQ was through the roof. I am not. But he just his matter of fact way with just this is just the way I'm sure he had stuff happen
Well,
to.
that's what I was getting to. I was curious if he had things occur, or was he just like, I believe, I'm in tune, I kind of believe.
He had things
Sounds like he
occur.
really didn't have experiences though.
Well, when his brother died, I mean, he knew that I don't want to get too far into this, but at the house that he was raised in, a very nice house,
Hmm.
um, there was a woman, a very
Yeah.
old woman, in the
Okay.
attic, and the attic was connected to one of the bedrooms upstairs. Now, when we were really, really little, of course, they didn't talk about this, whatever. However, my sister, Chris, refused to sleep. She had slept. We'd go and visit, and you sleep in the little room there. And she refused. She says there's an old lady there with glasses and she's mean. And my dad was like, oh, but my mom's like looking at him, don't you dare, Joe, don't you go into that, whatever. But it was like, I mean, so it wasn't like he said, this is the house I grew up in. There's a thing. We felt it. I mean, Chrissy especially just totally, I talked to her when I did the books and she's like, "Oh, but boy, she was very real." And my aunt too, the one I talked to, that she was from California, but she was my dad's sister, said yes, there was something in that attic in that house for real. And when my father's brother died, um, he and my mom went to the
Before you
house.
get to that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did they figure anything out about the old woman in the house, or
No, it was
just that she
back
was there?
so far. It was so it wasn't like you
Okay.
could Google it. It wasn't like whatever. So it
Yeah.
was. They did, as far as I know, no one really knew. Now the house is still standing. I mean, it was a very good, solid, very nice house.
Mm,
So I'm always tempted. It's like I'm tempted to go or just to find out, have you noticed anything to the people there? And also to
right.
the house that I babysat at, just like, you guys know this, right? You had to have heard her, and just to talk to the child, and just see how he's doing and say, you remember this, right?
Yeah.
Just to try to clarify it. But yeah, so we don't know. Um,
Okay, yeah. No, and it's
mhm,
because it's funny too, because what ends up happening is sometimes the place is haunted, but sometimes it's the family or the people who carry the energy along with them
mhm.
to have that place be haunted. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's plenty of different scenarios that go along with all of that. And let me say hi to a couple of people again.
Yeah.
Hello, one Sean Bond. Good to see you. And Black Roses, you did have a good point up here. I mean, of course, I say this all the time. Think we maybe block out the frequency after a certain age, while they're very young, and sometimes the very venerable or vulnerable are open to it. Yes,
Yep.
100%.
Yep. Totally.
Nathan Rita, hello. Yeah, no. It's again, I think there's a lot of things that we tend to forget once we're out of the womb and we start learning language and our memories start building up in our brain and all of that other
Mhm.
stuff is lost for some, not everyone.
Right.
Uh, but you were going to talk about your mother and father.
Well, it's just my mom now, nothing. So,
Okay.
I mean, she would never made me feel whatever. She would just believe me, whatever, but she never said, I saw
Yeah.
this or experienced this, or she just didn't get into that kind of stuff, but she was
Okay.
still very supportive. But I know my children,
Hmm.
which she brought up very good, Black Rose, is both of my children, when they were about 3 or 4,
Hmm.
brought it up out of the blue about their other mom. And, my first son said his name was Brick Wilson. He was married to Anna. They had 4 children. They lost a child, and he said, "I miss her. We were on a farm." Just brought it up. My youngest
How
then,
old was he?
4,
Okay.
and
Did
he
you
had.
did you happen to go looking?
Oh, yes, are you kidding?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, if you didn't, I mean, come on,
Of
you
course I did, and
okay.
just his face and my wife, Anna, I mean, I was just like, I got chills all over goose. I'm just like, and he just looked sad. He was just like, and my child died, and Anna, my wife, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh." Then, I told my mom, I told people, and they're, "Oh, okay, yeah, you know how kids, whatever."
Yeah.
But mom just was more like, "Huh." But then the youngest one, I have a picture of a lighthouse or whatever and raging sea, whatever that was on my wall. And he
Mhm.
was about 4 years old, 3, 4, somewhere in there. And he said, and he just was looking at it and he said, "Oh, I think I need to go back there." And I said, "Go back where?" And he goes, "Back to my other mom because I died in the water and she misses me."
Both your kids said
Yes,
this?
separate. Of course, I didn't tell. Yes, totally.
Wow.
Both of them. And
So
he was
so
just,
they're both your kids somehow were remembering their past
yeah,
lives,
yeah.
and it's funny though, because a lot of it happens way more than you think it does, but a lot of parents kind of just dismiss it that they're playing and mumbling and
Mhm.
not they're just using their imagination and stuff, and it just goes by and it's forgotten about. If you really look into it like me, I would be going, what's the
Yep,
name again? I'm writing
yep,
that down.
yep.
Um,
And he
but
said it
but
was like an island or a different it was he goes, "It's
yeah,
not around here, mom." It was just like, "Oh my gosh." Yes, both of them, and it was just I think all kids, like you
wow,
said, I do believe they say it, and I think there's been studies that
yeah,
say they are closer to that. They see, you know,
yes. Oh
so,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's
and when you're talking past lives and stuff like that, there's story after story of little kids around 3 or 4 of
mhm,
age, uh, stories like a kid that's speaking French before,
mhm,
he's trying, before he's even able to talk,
yep,
and his parents deciphering words in World War II, and I mean, there's so many stories out there that it's it lends credence to past lives and reincarnation somewhat, if you believe in that. Rothney, Willie Abe, how you doing? It's been a long time. Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, I won't go into any deeper. If you I just wanted to know if you looked up who your child was talking about to
yes.
see who the family lineage is, and if you could trace it back, and I would be on that like that. So
I tried and tried and tried, and very few, Brick Wilsons. I mean, the first name Brick, I was like, "What?" And then I did find some, but I don't know if it was in Minnesota where we were that but I didn't
yeah,
see that it could be anywhere, like, my youngest son said it's not here. It's far away. An
okay.
island, so, but yes, I looked and
Hmm.
looked and looked, and still once in a while, I'll put that in in Google, Burke Wilson, wife Anna, just to maybe I'll hit it now, but, find more
Yeah,
information, but yeah, pretty amazing.
no, interesting for sure. Edward Stewart, one of the creepiest I seen on video was the baby that stood up on the crib in possession fashion, standing straight up on the ledge. That was, yeah, I don't even know if that's real, to tell you the truth. It could have been a hoax. I don't know. Did you look like you're like freaked out about that and think that's 100% real, but I'm iffy on that one.
I
But
couldn't
anyway,
imagine as a mother walking into I mean, I had weird stuff we had weird stuff happen with our children when we'd hear
yeah.
the things go in the crib when they were with us,
Mhm.
the toys, all that kind of stuff, but if my child was standing up, I probably wouldn't be here.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I hear you. So getting on to you, and then we'll get to the books. Anything else like kind of big happen in your life, like seeing anything or something out of the ordinary?
It's just kinda too many to go into, and it's more like, I have not seen an apparition, my husband has, and that was
Okay.
when he was young.
Yeah.
I have not. I've heard, I've felt, and I have definitely seen, the ectoplasm or whatever in my own kitchen, I mean, just like that,
Okay.
but it's not, this is whatever, and she's fully dressed and whatever, that I am, but I hear a lot of, um speaking
Thoughts,
sounds.
sounds. Okay.
Yes, and that kind of a thing, and feel, and
Gotcha.
I've been touched and things like that,
Okay,
so.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So I got the picture. You're just sensitive,
Mhm.
and you pick up on a lot of things. let's get into the book then. Although I would want to question you about the ectoplasm. The ectoplasm, was it just a misty type thing? Was it a form of energy? Was it like a solid type?
It was
Uh,
solid.
it
It was
was
in my
solid.
kitchen after my best friend died, and, it was yes. Yes, it was I felt something, and I turned, and I've never had that before. It was totally solid right there, and I
Color?
was in so much grief. It was just
Yeah.
you're just so in such a but it was like, I've never had that happen before. It was right next to me, right there, and it was solid.
What color was that? Was it just like a whitish color, or
Yes,
glowing? Okay.
and very bright, yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, very, very interesting. Overkill, good to see you tonight. Okay, so let's get into these two books that you got on Amazon, which are in the description below. I would suggest picking it up. They're not too expensive and they're paperback. So
Real
uh,
books.
yes, real books you can put on the shelf or the
Mhm,
coffee table or whatever. So
mhm.
let's start out with let's just start out with the one book, Dayton Ghost, because it's
Okay.
just about Dayton, and I'd love to just hear that, and then broaden it out with Ohio, which is where I live and you live, and we'll
Mhm.
probably focus on that more than anything. But Dayton, what made you make a book on Dayton? Just
Um,
because it's close by and you heard a
well,
lot of things.
my editor said, "Do a book in Dayton after Cincinnati," so I'm not gonna say no. So, yeah. But, Dayton is very, very interesting. There is just, oh
It's a
my god.
college town, ain't it? Or am I wrong?
There is a college there. Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, the, Wright-Patterson,
Okay. Yes.
museum, whatever, that was a biggie. And, I actually have a photo I took of the Black Mariah helicopter. I don't know if you could get it up if I send it to you, but, when we were walking through, actually, my husband and my son, he was, I don't know, 8, and I,
Yeah.
went through there before I even knew anything about it. I said, because, it's like 3 hours away, so when we were up there for whatever reason, so let's go through there, and, I just felt compelled to stop and take a photo of this helicopter. There's so many, it's so cool. Even if you don't care about hauntings and you don't care about, um, airplanes or NASA or any of that, it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's
It's just,
history.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
it's so cool. All the things and all it's just it's mind-blowing. They have so many cool things there. But, yeah, I stopped and took a picture of that, and then my husband and son went into it's massive, okay? There's, like, 7, 8 galleries. It's absolutely massive, and I'm just like this little weasel, and I'm like, Stay, stay." They didn't hear me, but I knew I had to take a shot. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant, and I got home and looked at the picture, and I was like, "Holy crap," because in my eyes, and I've sent it to several people in the paranormal thing, it's definitely, I see a picture of a man on the side looking out the window, and I see it looks like, the Scream mask sitting in the thing, and that helicopter was, I found out after, was what flew, dead, um, people and injured people out of Nam
Okay.
from the war. So, and it was that was one of the most, like,
Huh.
just profound, because you take a shot, you don't even, what I mean? You can do
Oh,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
oh, this is whatever, and you did that, but I just felt compelled, and to see that, and it just was, it just kinda got to me too, because, that's someone's boy, and just all
Is
the
the
trauma.
photo in the book, says Blob
Yes,
City?
yes, and
There you
dating.
go. A
Yeah.
reason to get the book. There's photos too, so,
Oh, yeah, lots of
yeah.
photos.
I've been to Wright-Patterson. It's a really cool place to visit, says Harry Scott. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All of the things over the years that have happened in Wright-Patterson Airport, which the UFO side of things is a
Oh my gosh, that's a
separate
whole
show,
'nother.
but
Yep.
yeah. But yeah, no, residual energy or haunting or image that you would probably got in this helicopter, uh, carrying that many dead bodies, just yeah, very interesting. I see. I should have told you send me whatever pictures you want, but they can go and get the book and see it there. So, um, Odie Dillon, The War, Heavens to Murgatroyd. No. What's going on, Odie? I don't know what that means. Anyways, especially UFO. Yes, Edward Stewart. Question. Connie has a question. Okay, why not? If you guys got questions, feel free. I'm sure she'll answer if she can. Let's see. What was the most bizarre, intense, etc. thing you've seen to date?
With the book or with
In
any of the
general,
work?
I think in your entire life, maybe. Yeah, that's how about that? Broad range it. It's got to be
It's
something that stands out.
there's just so much. I mean,
Mhm.
it's I know it's gonna sound whatever, but it's kind of a lot all the time. And if I can't sit in oh this, oh this, oh this, oh this, but I I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know.
it's all right.
You know,
No,
my husband just said, say something.
listen,
I know I should know, but it's like, I don't know.
the
Th-
helicopter's a big one. I mean, the
That was
picture
cool. I
there.
got a great EVP. When the first thing I did for Cincinnati Ghosts, I went with Pink, Paranormal Investigators of Northern Kentucky, and
Okay.
to a house. It was actually a private residence, and we were in a room, and the attic was above, and whatever. And they were asking questions. Are you there? Oh wait, are those bugs? Whatever. And we all had our little recorders going,
Yeah.
and I got a specific EVP on my recorder. Can't find bugs, which
Hmm.
can't find bugs. A very metallic sounding voice. And Mike Palmer, who is the lead of Pink, got a different one, and we both had them going at the same time. I didn't have his. He didn't have mine. But I
Okay.
just always remember sitting here and having that happen, and hearing it for the first time and just like, oh my gosh, there's just so much for actually being afraid. It's more just like
Well,
I
let me
haven't
put.
seen anything, but it's
Yeah.
more the chill you feeling. I have
Okay.
felt cold to the bone on certain things, and that's, and just like that's different. I don't know.
Yeah, feelings are just as listen, you took a picture of a helicopter, you got an image. That's
Mhm,
something that's tangible.
mhm.
Um, Hearing things, seeing things, getting a feeling. How about this? Ever come across anything that you would think is demonic or evil in any way over the years?
We've gone to some places, or my husband was, researched the book with me, where, yeah, you don't wanna be there, you feel it. I don't delve into that, and my husband was talking to me about that the other night, about,
Should have
Mike
had him on
Palmer.
the show. You-
Oh, I know, he he would
yeah.
yeah. See, yeah, I'm just sitting
Pull
there,
up a seat. Pull up a no, that's all right. Whatever. If he wants to, hey, it's up to him.
"Dad, come on."
If
But,
he wants to, he's feel free.
But Mike Palmer was talking about, there was a house they were investigating a demonic haunting in, Lawrenceburg,
Mhm.
and the child, went partially up the wall and, like, and he's going, "If you guys wanna come," he's talking, "we're gonna go back for it," and my husband said, "Hell no." It was just we were just I was like when you're going to the devil, to me, that's a little different, and I'm
Yeah,
very you have to be really, like, in my opinion, to have
yeah,
that strength to go in, and you have to be able to block stuff and things like that, and to me, that's like I try to avoid that. I mean, I've had
yeah.
people, tell me it's like at, what is it, Mansfield? I felt, sad, really sad, but, Doug felt scared, very scared. He
Okay,
was
so 2
absolute
different experiences,
Yep,
yeah.
the one guy that gave us the tour was talking about in, sleepers or whatever they're called, and that lived there, and my husband just, like, froze. He's like, "How do I get out of here? Karen's on her own, and I don't know because it's a maze of stuff. If I can just get" he was so afraid. So, yeah, it's just for me,
Again,
totally
everybody
afraid, not
picks up.
often. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody picks up different energy and connects to different spirits.
Yep.
And he could have been picking up on something that was scaring him, whereas you were picking up on something that was sad. And it could have been a
Mhm.
residual type
Yep.
thing where you're just picking up on the emotions of what was going on there too. So,
Yep.
and we will talk about Mansfield Reformatory right here in Ohio in a bit. Let me catch up on some of these too. Good to see you, Fight Club. Yeah, where is my mind? Pixies Fight Club. Living on a major Civil War battlefield lends to some interesting dreams and thoughts. Odie Dillon. Yes, and some of the most haunted areas and places around. Gettysburg, in particular. I've heard story after story of, uh, picking up sounds of soldiers and yeah, that's just very, very intriguing for me. But let's get back to the book. Anything else in Dayton from the book that you would like to point out?
I mean, there's lots. Any particular ones? Let me look here. It's been a few years.
Well, we listen. We can go to the other book too.
Stivers School for the Arts.
Driver's school. What is that?
Stivers.
Divers
Stivers.
school. Okay.
Yeah. It was built like, I don't know, 100 plus years ago, and it started as a training school. But we went and talked with the principal there, and
Okay.
she talked about. She said, I came here and didn't even think about paranormal stuff, and she was there for a few years, and she said it's totally here. She's seen too many things. I mean, there's a woman they say is Mary Tyler that had an affair with one of the students, and she was
Okay.
found floating dead in the pool, and the student disappeared. And since that time, and it was so cool to be there and have her say, she saw, a boy on top, holding onto the stairway and just couldn't move. He just was like frozen. And he said, she went through me. This woman went through me. And
Mm.
to hear someone in that position, you know what I'm talking about, in that
Oh,
public and that, kind of a thing, and say that. So, I mean, that was, and the vibe there was, in my opinion, heavy, really heavy, but it's a fabulous school. It's like, it's all about the arts and encouraging children of, all races, ages, and whatever, and to explore that side. And I love it. I love that part about it. But over and over, I've heard how, I mean, it's scary for the students, and she said too, she was, afraid. And she had a woman from Japan that was an adjunct or whatever, and just came for a while. And there was something that the woman had to go down all the way down in the basement to get. And she said, you should have someone go with you. The principal said, she said, I don't need that. She goes, well, there might be spirits. She tried to, there's no
Yeah.
ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts, whatever. And she said she came, running back up, just sat on the stairs in front of the office and was pale white and said, a woman was there and she went right through me. She went right through me. She just kept, and she was absolutely terrified. So that place I totally believe is definitely, and
Okay.
it's several spirits, I believe. So
Nice. See,
yeah,
I mean, that it's interesting, because I've never heard that story, and it's because I don't live near Dayton. You live a lot closer than I do.
yeah,
Uh, but there are so many small towns or small cities, even big cities, that you just don't hear the stories, but there's so many stories out there and things happening, and you need to go if you had the chance to just drop everything for a year, get in whatever, an RV or whatever, and just travel from city to town and start asking people, to talk to the mayor, this person, that person, what, any hauntings in the city? I'm just doing research on, the stories that would come out of people's
mhm,
mouths. It's everywhere,
yep,
everywhere. If you would go out, even in the city that you live in, anybody out there,
mhm.
and started talking to people and asking people about things, you would be amazed at what's going on there. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point. Library Park is in Miamisburg, which is around Dayton, and that's one
yeah.
of the things I covered in the book. Um, it was incredible. It was like early 1900s, whatever, and a woman appeared in white, floating along at 9 o'clock
Mhm.
every night,
Wow.
and it's word spread. She just would, float around, go through the thing, and more people came. The mayor,
Yeah.
up to 1,000 people, whatever, and newspaper in Maryland covered this. They went down there and covered it, and said, "This is real. We saw her." The town folks know it. They tried to shoot her, but she was dead, so that didn't work. And they were trying to figure out why she wouldn't stop. She's freaking people out, but it was just incredible to me that back in that day and age, that the newspaper covered it and just all of the, 1,000 plus people, and it kept going on until they finally unearthed what they thought was a grave and a couple others and moved it, whatever. And they say supposedly she was seen maybe still in the 80s, 1980s or whatever, but no accounts since then. But I just found it because, in this day and age, everybody what I'm saying. It's just different.
Yeah.
Back then to have it be so, to be covered like that and not even from the same state and say, this is going on and it's real. And, it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, no. Coffee Shop of Horrors. If you love coffee, not sponsored, but listen, we got some late horror show coffee there, Mayhem Mint, and they've got great coffee. It is unbelievable. There's still a little bit in a cup. I won't get rid of it because it smells so good.
Oh my God.
It's so good. But good to see you here. And yeah, some cities and towns do not like to talk about it. And I don't know why. I guess they think that it's going to make them seem like they're loony and don't go to that town. They're all nuts. They think everything's haunted. But I think in this day and age, I think there's a lot less of that, Chris, because we're exposed to it every day. There's shows on every channel. So
I don't know. I was hired to do a reenactment thing at a place around here, historical place.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my monologue, there was no lights on, nothing. And all the people were standing there and I'm doing it. And the wiring went just crazy and strobe lights. I'm standing there. I'm trying to stay in character. The woman that, runs it, whatever. I'm looking at her and I kept going. And then it was just so ridiculous. And the people were like, what? And I said, what is this? And she goes, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I finished whatever and done. And went back the next year and I was talking to some of the people there on the board. And I told them this happened and they went, we don't want to go there. We don't want people to. So, I mean, to me, that was one of the most amazingly obvious. Everyone saw it. There's no explanation. Okay. None of lights. And then the strobe lights in there and it's in the house and I'm doing this. And it was like, and I'm like, has that ever happened again? No. And I'm so, but this happened. Well, they don't want people to tarnish it or sully or try to go there, because there's a little cemetery up on the hill, whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess I understand that, but it was just, I sort of felt like this really happened. I mean, she saw it happen. The other people saw it happen. So stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I mean, so in a way you think, well, it's more accepted now. No, not there. It's just like, just shut up.
Every situation's different. I mean, it depends on what's going on. I mean, do the people really just want to keep people out from, the haunted house or the haunted whatever? There's all kinds of situations. So I get it, but I'm saying in general, I think more people are open to it. There's a lot of people who take advantage of that and open it up and tours and everything and make a living off of it. And a lot of people will say, well, they're just making money. But if I have a haunted place and I know there's activity and there's a lot of stuff going on, I think I would open it up for people to come and investigate. Whether I would charge or not, listen, you got to make a living in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be determined, but I can see why they do that. And if you've got to make a living off of something you've discovered, it's up to the people going there and investigating to really check that out. We also do got a couple comments, and I'll get to you, Odie, in a second. But Fight Club does bring up, listen, it's all true. Maybe dreams, the spirit world, and multiverse are the same thing, but who knows? No one knows what comes after death. Not even Jesus knew. Well, who knows? That's a whole different subject too. But getting into dreams, the spirit world, and the multiverse, and here on Earth, again, I've talked about this many times. Karen, and I believe you probably believe the same thing, but it's all connected some way. The entire
Mhm.
universe is made up of energy. Everything you look at is energy some
Yes.
way. Your desk, there's energy flowing through the desk.
Yes.
Everything
Right.
is connected some way. We don't know truly 100% what's going on there.
Mm-mm.
Um, I know myself, Karen, when I go into the dream state, it's a whole different world. It's so vivid to me. It's just it's its own thing. It's its own world. So people who can connect to the spirit world, when you get into the multiverse, which is, scientifically speaking, that's theoretically kind of the same thing too, but in
Mhm.
a kind of, if you take a dimension like our where we're at here, our plane of existence, and you start to shake it just a little bit, it's just enough to
Yeah.
pop you into a different dimension, a different multiverse, and it's just so awesome to think about. I
It's
wish I
awesome
could.
and scary.
And scary, but well, listen, I'm open to all of that, to thinking, man, if I could shake the universe or this plane of existence to a point to where I pop somewhere else, which is a possibility for time travel too, by the way.
Mhm. Yep.
I would do it in a second. But we are at a stage in our existence as humans that if we know it, they're not telling us, but I don't think we really know how to do any of that stuff because we're just too dumb at this point. But anyways, your thoughts on all of that or anything? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you the dream thing. Okay, when my father died, my
Uh,
husband and I had just been married, and um, we were staying in our house to save up for an apartment. My dad insisted, and that was really nice. And then he died just like 3 months after my wedding.
mm,
And 3 days later, I was just gutted. He's one of my best friends. And I
yeah,
mean, obviously on the same wavelength kind of a thing.
yeah,
I was sleeping and my husband was sleeping. And I dreamt that I saw a great light, very, very bright. And I felt Dad. I didn't see him, but I felt him. So I'm dreaming. I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss you. You would, and I was going towards him in my dream. And I kept going forward and kept going forward. My husband woke me up. He said, wake up. You're not going. Your dad says it's not time yet. He saw in his dream
hmm
me walking towards my father. And my dad said, don't let her, it's not her time. So yeah, I just felt like I was so to have that the
yeah,
coincidental dream that he saw what I saw, and I was just like, "How do you know?" And he just, your dad told me, and said, "You don't just stop. You can't." It was just that was an incredible thing. So yes, there is a line in the wake dream
yeah,
state that is a lot of it is very real, in my opinion.
yeah. No, I listen. I agree 100%. And OD, I will get to that question too. About the energy of
Oh
our
yeah. Oh
brains,
Lord.
which is, but let's talk about dogs and animals in particular. They are, listen, they're different species of animal, and we don't really understand. I mean, there's so much to dogs and cats that we just don't know.
Mhm.
We do know that there is some connection to the spirit world because they do tend to pick up on a lot of these things before us,
Yeah.
whether it's not even just ghosts and spirits, whether it's a catastrophe that's about ready to happen, an earthquake,
Mhm.
you name it. They sense it a lot quicker than we do.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. I guess throw that to you, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, uh, I had various animals throughout my life, and we've all, I think, had where the dog or the cat is looking somewhere and just intently and just, or the dog barks at something that you don't know what they're doing, that kind of a thing. But the most profound thing for me personally was
Yes.
my poodle. She was, everyone, every animal, it's your animal or not, or it's a family thing, but there's always one person that the dog is, connected to, and that was my poodle. And
Yeah.
this was after I did the book and whatever, but so I'm sending the boys are at school, my husband's at work, and I'm up in my office here on the second floor, and the door slammed to my bedroom and it was closed. It opened, it slammed, and just like a thunk, right? So I'm like, what the heck? So I get up and run to the top of the stairs. Now, my dog would have been the first one down there, okay?
Yeah.
And everything, okay? She
Yeah.
stopped at the top of the stairs. I said, what? She would not come down. I went in my room and my purse that had been on my dresser was, I don't know what else to say. It was like it was thrown against my closet and it was laying there spilling out. And she would not come down. Whatever that was that did that, no way. She's like, nope, I'm not gonna go near that. Any other time, whatever, she's kind of, you know what I mean? It's been like she might feel stumped, or I might go, oh, what's that? And she'll be like, whatever. But this was like, she was absolutely petrified. There's no way
Yeah.
she knew it wasn't something normal. And that's the only main experience I had with her, but it's just in my psyche. I'm like, I just never forget it. I just was shocked
Yeah.
that she always ran everywhere. She always was the first one to go bark and search it out. She's like, I'm not going. And one of the stories I did, 20th Century Theater in Cincinnati, they had a dog. The owner
That's in
did,
your book, right?
yeah, and refused
Cincinnati
to
Ghost.
go up into the projection booth. You know, and this was like my dog just always went everywhere with his his owner, whatever, and he would not go up, would not go into that. And then he found out that the projectionist had died in there of a heart attack, and that there'd been a lot of weird stuff. And you know, the dog was just like, I'm not going in there. After a while, he finally did, but when he first went there, the dog refused. So yes, I totally believe animals. They see so much more than we could ever. I totally believe that.
Oh yeah, no, listen, and I don't understand. I don't think I've seen anybody actually use, because Odie asked another question if you used a dog in any of your paranormal research or anything like that, but I don't think you have, Karen. But
Mhm.
you have a dog, and you may have taken them on. You probably never took it even on the paranormal investigation with you, but I think it's an interesting idea to bring along an animal with you on your paranormal investigations. I've never seen a
Yeah.
show where somebody would do that, but it could be another tool to use for
Yes.
your paranormal investigation. So yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really cool. I totally believe that. Yeah, especially if you know them, because they kind of too. But the problem too is if you bring them into another scenario versus not your house or whatever, it's hard to have a baseline because they're kind of like everywhere or what, you know what I'm saying? It's hard
yeah.
to kind of do that. But yeah, totally. They're little psychic creatures for sure.
Oh yeah. Becca Too Tall, good to see you here. Yes, totally excited about part 2 to Vincent Price and Leonard Nimoy hosting uh
Oh man.
Mutual Radio Theater tonight. And Leonard Nimoy does the adventure type shows, and Vincent Price does the more mystery spooky type shows. So they're back and
Oh,
forth
fun.
all night long. So
I love those
thank
guys. They're from it's my
Oh
era
yeah.
for sure.
Listen, people love although it's not so much Mutual Radio Theater with Vincent Price and Leonard Nimoy. They hosted these shows, and they ran in the 80s. So they're still kind of categorized as old time radio, even though they're from 79, 80, right around that time period. But anything where you're dramatizing the radio, I put it in that category, unless
Mhm.
it's BBC and later on. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. Let's see.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, you know what? We're almost an hour in this. Let's start talking a little bit about some of the hauntings in Ohio, because we got a heck of a lot.
Mhm.
I did mention Helltown, but you never investigated that. You know about it, but we'll
Mhm.
skip that. I know there's a paranormal investigating team that I don't think I've told the story on here, but I'll push that aside for right now. Another show I'll talk about that they had a wild experience there. There are no buildings standing anymore, and it's
Yeah,
taken
that's
over
what
by the state park department. No, the national park department, not the
okay.
state. It's the national.
Wow.
Why would the national park system take over? Because it's national. The government can kind of intervene. Anyways, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But let's go to, in your book, Cincinnati Ghosts, you talk about Ohio and the tri-state area, which is Indiana and Kentucky. But let's start out talking a little bit about some things in Ohio, and leave people to want to go get that book for some of the stories in Indiana and Kentucky and all that. But first one I'd like to touch on is the haunted castle in Loveland,
Oh, yeah.
Ohio, which
Sir
beautiful
Harry.
place. Scary, but
What an
cool place.
amazing guy. He
Yeah.
was, in wars and whatever. And he actually technically died. He was in the very young age, and he was in the mortuary or whatever. And they were going to do the autopsy, and he bled. And it's like the fellow we talked to said dead men don't bleed. And then they went, oh my gosh, he'd been there for like a day. And they realized he was, I think it was encephalitis or meningitis, but they had pronounced him dead and realized he was alive. So they were able to save him. And then he eventually came back. He was such a genius. I don't know. His IQ might have been almost 200. It was insane. And he built that castle over many years, and it was for the Boy Scouts, and he was really big on that. He wanted them to have something really cool to be part of. It was on the Miami River, and look how cool this is. And it is really cool. I mean, it had a dungeon, it had the knights, it had a chapel. It's just awesome. If anyone can go.
It's a true castle.
It is. And
Yeah.
and he had these innovative ways of, he'd put the milk can, whatever, and use that for to mold the cement around whatever. He saved so much money, and he recycled, and he just was amazing. He was an interesting character, then I guess you have to be to kind of the life he lived. But he always said, he always, when we talked to one of the guys that worked there, he said that he always talked about, yeah, there's people here. I mean, there's spirits here and stuff. And they were like, yeah, right. Oh no, they are. And yeah, so they believe that who was there. They're not sure. When we talked to him, he wasn't sure if it was Harry that was doing this part, but what would happen when Harry made chess games and stuff like that, and checkers. He did it out of wood, whatever, that was part of his thing. And then he'd have that for the Boy Scouts to play. And
Right.
the guy said often, he'd be the only one there because you have to watch it, whatever. And he'd stay overnight. And he said, if you just start playing it and go to bed, when you got up, there were the other pieces had been played. So like there was that, and he said that happened so often, and with other people too, things would disappear and reappear. And if the boys misbehaved, they'd be found out. If the septic tank was overflowing, the door would be slamming. That's how we knew. We didn't ever have to check. Harry told us, that it went, and they'd go, and yep, the bathroom door would be slamming with no one there. So it just seemed, that just was like his life's everything. And, I still believe he's there. A lot of people do. They also believe maybe several children are there that died, were burned or whatever, young children that some people have said they've seen. And the ectoplasm that we were talking about, that outside, when people take photos, and they showed us some of them, really a lot right around the turret or whatever. So
Yeah.
it just has it, and it's not an ishy vibe. It's a cool vibe. It felt just like, this is so cool. So it wasn't one of those sites that you're like, ugh, oh yuck. It was just very interesting. And I loved, that it's still going, and and still the Boy Scouts they'll stay overnight and have the fire and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the haunted castle in Loveland is very. If you look it up online, and you could find it, just type in haunted castle Loveland, Loveland, Ohio,
Yep.
and it'll pop up, and it's just a very cool place, and they do a lot of really cool things there and stuff.
Yep.
But a lot of paranormal investigations over the years that have gathered a lot of evidence of especially EVPs there.
Yes, the fellow we talked to, they call him a knight, whatever, his name was Joe. He said that a psychic came, and they were down in the dungeon, and she started I don't know, she was talking, whatever, and then she fainted.
Yeah.
And he had his recorder going or whatever, and then he helped her up, and then one of the other guys came down and said, "What are you doing with her?" Because I guess it looked like whatever. So just to put him, it was kind of funny. But he said on his recorder, he's not a paranormal guy. He's just one of the guys that was part of it. He
Mhm.
said he heard Harry's voice say, "Eat no pork,"
Okay.
and I'm like, we're like, what? He goes, yeah. And it was him. It was totally him. And then, my husband are like, so do you eat pork? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to give up pork. But,
Right.
this profound statement, where did that come from? And he said, yeah, it was clear as a bell. So yeah, the
The
EVP thing.
weirdest EVPs come out sometimes, and you wonder, why was that just spoken? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense.
No,
Um,
it's crazy.
Really quick, I wanna, answer, OD Dillon's question on the energy of, your brain. Basically, when you pass on or when you're living the energy. I believe that there's two different energies that is within our body. One is the soul. I believe that the soul itself is a form of energy that inhabits our body to when we live.
Mhm.
It kind of gives us our aura, our emotions. Everything we feel on this earth. It helps to function the body and to make it run. And then there's this other inner energy. Some people call it your chakra, or
Mhm.
there's many different words for it. But there's another energy other than your soul that once you pass on, that's the energy that goes out within, catches up to it's where all your memories are, past lives. uh
Mhm.
Time does not exist with this energy. It's where you make the decisions if you're going to learn more and come down to live again, be reincarnated. Not to get into a long whole story, but those are the two different energies in your body. And I do believe that wholeheartedly. There's many reasons why, and I think I've talked about that a lot on the show. But anyways, there's another very cool hidden underground church in Utopia, Ohio, that I
Yikes.
didn't. I don't think I've heard this, but I'd like to hear about this.
Yeah, it's at the town of Utopia. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, boy, it was strange on the Ohio River.
Hmm.
And there was it a mystic or whatever? Someone came to set up, what do you call that? My brain's going whatever, where everyone stays there and they're part of a commune or whatever, and they all chip in and they all get houses, and then there's the place to eat, and there's this and the church and whatever, and the church was built.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
commune. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I'm trying to get it straight, but I know that eventually what happened is
Like
the
Charles Manson. I mean, kind of
yes,
the
it's
same
very close to
similar.
he was bizarre, this guy. He's like, "Well, the
Yeah.
water's gonna turn to lemonade, and this is all," and they're like, "Oh, okay," and then it didn't. And, they finally were like, "Oh, no," so that kind of left, and then another group came in, and, this I think is that where the church came? But anyway, they took one of the buildings that was up there, that was the dining hall, and moved it right to the edge of the Ohio River. And everyone, I mean, a lot of people were saying this is a drought kind of time, but the water's going to rise up. And the guy that was supposedly psychic said, no, it won't. This will be fine. We're going to do it. We're going to move here, and put this up here. We're going to have the water view and do all of this. Well, of course, they finally got it done. It took years, but when it was finally done, and they're all in there, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
And of course, then the great flood happened, and I think 100 people died in that night alone. It
Mm.
was just massive, and of course, the whole thing fell apart and everything. And it's said that I know a fellow. Well, we interviewed several filmmakers that went there and talked to one of the guys that used to do tours there, and he said it was super haunted. The house that the Waddles lived in, Reverend Waddles or whatever. Multiple people saw, I think it was like a man, a woman, and 3 children walked right through the front door, like not open the door, but just right through it. They were sopping wet, that kind of a thing, and then walk, around. Another woman that the tour that she went on, was Richard Crawford, actually. He's a historian for Ohio. He sure saw a lot of stuff. He had one of those kind of lives, but he
Mhm.
said he was doing a tour, and a woman on the tour doubled over, and she felt that she was hit in the stomach, and where she said she was hit was all wet, totally soaked, and it wasn't raining or anything. So it just felt, I think Richard Crawford said to him that's one of the most haunted places in Ohio, not maybe counting Dead Man's Curve, but yeah,
Uh,
that place, and I never got to go there. We talked to the filmmakers, we got some pictures from them and everything, and they say if you just travel through it, you wouldn't even blink, but the
yeah.
church is all the way down, I don't know how many feet down, but it was like had a constant temperature. It had 2 fireplaces. It had the
Mhm.
ceiling with whatever. And then the filmmakers said they saw like scratch marks on the walls and on the ceiling, when they went down. But it would
Huh.
be so cool to go there. I mean, I can't believe it's not still buzzing with things, because they did a lot of
Yeah.
seances and things like that. And, yeah, just real, yeah, like you said, a lot of people didn't know about it and still don't.
Huh. No, very, very interesting, man.
Mhm.
You throw in church, you throw throw in
Right, I know.
hidden underground. I mean, come on, scary stuff. And I want to hear a Dead Man's Curve in a second because that's literally, I can jump on the exit over here and be at Dead Man's Curve in like 15 minutes. So we'll talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah, in Cleveland. You're talking about Dead Man's Curve in
no,
Cleveland?
you have, you know what? I think everyone has a dead man's curve.
Okay, it's different
Be
then.
because
Okay.
is it the faceless hitchhiker? Because mine is in Amelia,
Okay, then it's a different
Ohio.
Dead Man's Curve. There's
Well,
probably a
let's
lot.
compare and contrast. They all seem, it's like the headless horseman or whatever. Or
Right. No, that's funny. Okay, yeah, no, and it makes sense. But Blob City does say, and I do remember this story, and yes, there was that cat that lived in a nursing home that got extra snuggy with the patients who were very near to death. I do remember that story.
And I see stuff like that pop up periodically. There's
Yeah.
other cats that are doing it, whatever, and animals just sense it. And the animal the one I don't know an old lady, it was her dog or whatever, and he went like 5 miles and got into the hospital doors and went up to her room. I mean,
Yeah.
there
How's
is
that
this
happen?
connection that's just, and it's not just because of the smell. I don't believe that for a second. They just have
Yeah.
this,
No,
psychic thing.
there's something going on there. It's
Mhm,
those kind of stories, just in a way don't make sense, but in a way, if you believe, they kind of make sense. But anyways,
mhm,
that Dead Man's Curve. Yeah, no, I was thinking because we have a stretch of freeway and it's called Dead Man's Curve where many people have died.
mhm,
And every now and then you will hear a case of them seeing an accident or something of the sorts. And when they drive past, look back and there's nothing going on. I mean,
mhm.
they just saw something like uh, that's our Dead Man's Curve experience. But yeah, listen, it's really a Dead Man's Curve. I think they may have even fixed that because too many people were dying.
They fixed
But
this
go ahead
one
with
and it didn't
yours,
make any difference.
right? No,
It was a 2-lane,
yeah,
roadway in the Ohio Turnpike or whatever. That's what it is. And they fixed it. Even this is back like when they had horse and buggy and things like that. It was that dangerous that because of the curve at the top, if it was raining or whatever, I mean, horses would go over I mean, they were having accidents all the way back then. And they redid it, straightened it out much more and made it a 4-lane. And then pretty
okay,
much right after that happened, there was a huge accident and there was 4 boys in a car that were hit head on by a road runner, I guess, and, all of them died except one, and that one was Richard Crawford, the fellow I'm talking
yeah,
about Utopia, whatever, yeah, and and he's
wow,
written many books and whatever, but yeah, and they believe we talked to the filmmakers again, the same filmmakers, they put a psychic out there, and she says it's totally and, on the, Native American burial grounds. It was built and it didn't matter if she they dropped her off.
mhm,
Supposedly, it's like 1 o'clock at night to
yeah,
1:20 if you want, to see. They say it's a faceless hitchhiker. He's all in black. He's tall, and he kind of moves along, and certain people see him, but only during that time. And that they feel it's sent from the Native American, people in doing that. And it was never, they just kept it going. And now,
Yeah.
of course, you know how that is. You hear something and then you notice more, like you hear on the news, but I'd hear an accident on that in Amelia. And I'm like, oh, there we go again, or if it was whatever. But the psychic said, this is horrible. Come and get me. I mean, she was there like 2 minutes. They had to go back and get her. And she's like, no, it's really, really bad. So,
Yeah.
and there's the story of the nurse who was working a double shift and driving home, and she felt she hit something. The car, she hit some, she stops, she looks, nothing's there. She, gets back in, and then she sees this black, tall,
Yeah.
all in black, I mean, with no face, crawl on top of the station wagon. So she floored it and went home and, woke her folks. She was young, and her dad saw nothing. That she hit him. She knew nope, nothing was wrong with the car, nothing was on it, but she just swore that. And there's stories like that. It just seems like like you and I were talking about the energy everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
that a lot of these sound familiar and like the same, but I think it just makes sense because
Yeah.
like you said, it's everywhere and all this stuff's going on, and there's different, I know
Well,
I don't want to do anything on Indian burial grounds that I don't, no one should do that you have to have respect, and,
right.
that's
Yeah.
got to stop.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if they're going on there not knowing it was a Indian burial ground, then that's a different story. But once they find out, it's like, yeah, it should be hands off. Just leave it be.
I think
But
back originally, I think they knew, but it was
yeah,
just like, so, I mean, they're down there with, it's not, I really believe that. And it's like, then what do you do? When it's like, what do you do?
right.
Because you're going to redo the road or whatever. But I mean, if it's already, I
If
don't
it's
know.
already cursed, I
Yeah,
mean, there's nothing you can do about
that's
it.
what I mean. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny when they go ahead and either tear something down because they think, boy, this place is just so haunted and there's so many accidents and so many things have happened in this place. Let's
Mhm.
tear it down. And then they build upon that, and then there's still activity and still
Yep.
stuff going on.
Yep.
So again, you can't take away the energy, and somehow
Mhm.
that what we call residual energy can linger and linger and linger. um it's yeah, no matter what you do to the place. So
But
it
also, I believe too, yeah, the energy lingers, but I also believe it can feed off
yes,
individuals that are alive now or whatever, and maybe not of the right mind, or you know what I'm saying, and are
yes,
very vulnerable. And
yes.
then that helps that to continue,
Oh
to
yeah,
keep festering.
it's a cycle
Yeah.
of, again, I hate to keep throwing out the same word energy, but
Yeah.
everybody understands that everything is connected through energy, and even like hauntings and stuff like that, you get spikes of energy, EVPs, they're bursts of little energy, and it's just all connected, and
Yeah.
um it's just very interesting for sure. Don't go down that road, says Overkill. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, no, yeah, you definitely shouldn't. Talking about Pet Cemetery too. Oh boy. The next one, there's the abandoned Hayeswood Hospital in Ohio.
no, that's in Maysville, Kentucky. I
Is
kind of
it? Okay.
expanded the I just thought
Okay.
Maysville is so cool. I mean, seriously, that's where, like,
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Rosemary
Yeah.
Clooney and George Clooney around there, whatever. They have just some beautiful buildings and whatever, and history and all of that. But the Hayeswood Hospital, um, turn of the century, whatever, it was like an infirmary, and then I think nuns were there and whatever, and then it went to the hospital. And um, boy, that place is dark. When we were
Mm,
out, this is one of when you were talking about stuff that got to me.
mhm.
My husband and I went there, and I was taking the picture. You can't get in there. They'll arrest you. Okay. Even back then when I did the book, you don't trespass, they say, but I found people that did, and it's in the book and about their
Okay.
firsthand experiences. But I was outside the hospital on the other side of the street. It was summer. My husband was in the car. Windows were down. So I'm
Mhm.
taking photos of it, and there's, whatever. I'm taking photos and I hear a child scream like I have never heard. I'm a mom. I know. Okay. I know when a child's just, I'm having a tantrum. It was like, I'm like, I literally just stood there. I'm like, oh my God, do I call? What do I do? What the? I've never heard anything that I can't even tell you. Just as a mother, I can't tell you. So I ran, I just went over to the car, opened the door. I said, Doug, should we call the police? He goes, why? I said, don't you hear that child? Didn't you hear the child? No. It's been said, people hear people crying, they hear children, whatever, all this kind of stuff. But to have that happen, and I'm taking photos and whatever, it was like, that was very personal. And that is one of the things that'll stay with me and I'll never forget it. I don't know why. So many people, in fact, a fellow was found dead there less than a year ago in the courtyard. And the cops are trying to
Really?
keep people out. Yes. And it was supposed, now this is in a beautiful section of Maysville. Okay. It's on a hill. Maysville's a beautiful Ohio River town, cobblestone stuff and all that. And it's been abandoned, I think, since 78, something like that. They were going to make apartments there. Someone bought it. Well, I'm going to put apartments in. Guess what? Nope. After a few years, no, we're not going to. Why? We're just not going to. Then then it stayed off the market. Maybe we'll put a parking lot there, raise it down because that building is very dangerous, asbestos everywhere. And nope. And now I looked again recently, like, I don't know, a few months ago. Nope, that fell through. They're not going to do anything there. And it's still standing there and it's insane. I talked to people that one of them was a nurse that worked there. And she said when the hospital closed, they moved to a town where, how they do that, consolidate. So they go, so it was like they moved to that thing. She said they were there getting some equipment after it was closed. And while they were there was no electricity. Okay. Nothing. And it was, dark and whatever. So they're in there trying to get some of the equipment out, the nurse kind of stuff. And the elevator door opened, ding, and a gurney slid out right in front of them. There's no electricity. There's no one there doing that. And she was just, they were all just like, you got to be kidding me. And a friend of hers, she said, was up in the children's ward and saw a mother holding her child and crying in the corner and just weeping. The nurse was just felt so drained. She couldn't help her. She couldn't help the child. The pediatric ward is supposedly very haunted. And someone else I interviewed, he actually was a wrestler. He snuck in there. He said, like in August, and he said you could see her breath. And that's Maysville, Southern, and he heard footsteps and also a heart monitor, very, very loud heart monitor, which again, there's no electricity. There's no, and he said, I'm this whatever. But he goes, that's real. I shouldn't have gone in there. I mean, don't go in there. He said, seriously, don't. And it's not even just that, but it's also, like I said, there's asbestos everywhere. The floors are falling out. But I cannot believe they haven't taken it down. It's just amazing. It's like there's something there that won't let it happen or whatever. But anyway, it'd be so cool to go through, but you really can because it is so dangerous. But there's just so much stuff that comes from that town. Phillips Folly, there's a place there. It's just, that town is really up there in hauntings at the whole town. You can just feel it. There's places all over the place. People I talk to from there. It's a very active area.
The name of the town is Hayeswood too?
Maysville.
Maysville.
Yep.
Okay.
Kentucky.
Okay.
Yep.
Maysville. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how old is the hospital? Like, was it
I think it was originally 1902. And it was I think it might have been built as a seminary or something. And then it went to an infirmary and then to the Hayeswood Hospital.
Yeah.
But I talked to someone too that he was in the hospital in the 70s. We visited him, Doug and I, and he said while he was in the hospital, a nurse came in he had never seen before. And he's like, oh, you're new. And she's like, whatever, whatever. And just whatever she did, whatever. And he's like, okay. And then right after she left, another nurse came in and he goes, oh, I get to have, 2 for 1 or whatever. And she goes, what are you talking about? There was this nurse here that, I haven't seen her before, but she checked on me and stuff. She said, there's no one. No, he described her and she said, no, there's no. So he told, basically said, even before it was abandoned, whatever, there was stuff going on there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's amazing how many old turn of the century hospitals which were a lot of times state asylums or, like you said, infirmaries, or a lot of they call them hospitals now, but back in the day, a lot of bad stuff happened. Patients were tinkered with. We know all about the lobotomies that were done and stuff like that, mostly in state institutions.
Mhm.
But hospitals, after the turn of the century, they became different things over the years. One decade it was an asylum. The next
Yep.
decade it ended up being, like you said, infirmary, and then
Mhm.
hospital, and then so on and so on. And
Mhm.
just so much, I'm sorry to say it, so much evil has happened over the years,
Especially at
that
Mansfield, like we were talking about. Yes, definitely. Definitely stuff was done there. And it's totally true. And like you were saying too, the energy, when you have birth, death, sorrow, despair, and
yeah,
that kind of a thing, and then you toss in if they're doing stuff that's totally they're not being altruistic. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. I mean, no
so
wonder. Yeah.
much energy. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
way too much.
Mhm.
Sandra Marinovich, what's going on? It's been a long time. Says, I lived in an old church that was converted into a home, lived there for 3 years. We had dozens of paranormal incidences, which was witnessed by my husband and at least 8 other people. Good to see you, Sandra. And CM has just entered. Thank you, Dino and Mods. Oh, no, CM must have been here all the time. You take care, CM. Again, everybody check out the links below in the description. Her books are there.
Thank
She's
you.
also she's
I,
authored. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Like 7
No.
or 8, I don't even know. But I'm curious, Sandra, was the energy or the things that you saw, did they scare you, or was it more just, I'm just curious because did they feel like it was, you know, malevolent or not? Because like I said, with the babysitter's
Yeah.
house, I did not feel afraid. That's interesting. That's just amazing to me. In the church,
Yeah.
same thing. You have death, birth. I mean, and all this stuff going on. So it's just
Yeah.
ripe for that stuff.
Oh, listen, there's a lot of experiences in the chat, I'm sure. Many people
That's
come on
cool.
here and tell them, and you're just like, wow. Odie Dillon, question on a bright day, who has seen a part of their shadow actually creep to another shadow like I was being redrawn? Odie Dillon, what's going on there, buddy?
Wow.
That's pretty freaky. If you've seen that, that could be hallucination, maybe. I listen. I'm okay. We'll skip that. I don't know. Much love, Odie. I don't know. Night Fright Talk Show. Thumbs up. But yeah, like I said, tons and tons of stories like this in Karen's books, which you can find in the links below. Definitely check them out. What stands out to you in Kentucky that's haunted?
Oddly enough, I mean, obviously, Bobby Mackey's, which has been done to death, whatever. But we were there and we did
Yeah.
several times and interviewed several. So that's definitely. I know it's had a lot of hype and whatever, but listen, it's real.
And
It's
Bobby
real.
Mackey's is what? Just in
It's a
case nobody's
bar.
heard it.
It's a
Yeah,
honky tonk. Yeah, and it's in Wilder, Kentucky. Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. You feel it walking. You feel it just driving by. Seriously. And also, actually, it's not even in my book, but and Petersburg, Kentucky. I don't know if anyone that watches this or is seeing this has any stories about that, but like I talked about Mike Palmer of Pink, he
Mhm.
totally believes that's one of the most. He's gone all over the place, literally, and he said
Yeah,
that's probably the most haunted town. And just driving around there, you can just totally feel it. There's a lot of stuff that's it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I'm always amazed that actually when we moved here, my husband sent me a photo of a house that was for sale there. I saw the photo and I said, "No, it's haunted," and people were hung there. I just told him I'm sitting in Minnesota. He just sent me a photo, and then I find
yeah.
out, yeah, a bunch of stuff. When I had no
Wow.
idea what that place was or what about. I just knew it from the. So yeah,
Yeah.
that town's something else. Yeah.
So the entire town, yeah,
I
okay.
believe that, yes, and I've been told that too.
Okay, okay. Fight Club says back on Pasadena. We heard people dragging a heavy coffin where there is carpet now, but below the carpet there was wooden floor, a door with a locked. We dare not open it and still locked after 60 years. Well, who
Holy
owns the place?
cow!
Well, I like to know, first of all, who owns the place Fight Club? Who's keeping something locked for 60 years? Um,
Wow.
it has to be the original owners who are probably in their 80s, or because if I took over a place and there was a door there and it was locked, I wouldn't leave it locked.
It would
I
drive me
wouldn't.
nuts. No, I'd have to
Yes.
no, I would
I'd be
totally have
opening
to.
it. I don't care how much paranormal activity was going on, but again, the heavy coffin on the floor, again, residual. You can be in a carpeted building and still hear wooden,
Yeah,
footsteps on a wooden floor. I mean,
yeah.
that's what
At Heathwood
that,
Hospital, all the stuff was all over the floor, and they heard, like, uh, footsteps clicking on the linoleum that was all covered, but there was no way. So, yes, that's really cool what Sandra said. Human spirits don't typically make physical contact with the living. Demons do. They moved out the next day. She said at first they thought the hauntings in the church were mischievous or whatever. Wow.
mm,
Yeah, I believe that. That's crazy.
okay. Then Wright moved out. My husband and I were both quite held down in bed. Yeah, no, Sandra's had experiences.
Wow.
Yes, yes. I've heard a lot of them, and again, Sandra, I'd love to talk to you. That's for sure. You've been part of the channel
Sounds
for a while. But anyways, so that's Kentucky, and we covered a few in Ohio, but you've got a whole book that's got tons of stories on it, and
Mhm.
Dayton.
Yep.
Are you looking to do another book on ghosts or hauntings or the paranormal?
I I took a break for
Okay.
quite a while, but yeah, it's like now I'm just feeling it's time. That's why I'm so interested in what
Yeah.
your viewers and their stories and things, because that's how I do the books. I talk to people, I get their quotes, I meet with
Yep.
them, I see what they're talking about, I take photos and all of that, and it's a very intimate thing, so I would like to do that.
Yeah.
The thing is, how do I where do I, center it on, that kind of a thing, but I'm definitely
Right.
I'm feeling the itch. Oh, I
Okay.
need to do
Okay.
something.
Colonel Crypto, good to see you. And Sandra does say again, we witnessed things flying around the rooms, glasses shattering into thousands of pieces, drawers and cabinets. Listen, again, Sandra, I've heard them. We need to have a movie
Oh, it's amazing.
based on. Can I have the movie rights, Sandra? Let me know.
I can have the book, right?
There you go.
Let's get this thing
uh,
signed.
Ben Straight Ben Straight Jacket. No prayers. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but um anyways, with that said, it's about an hour and a half, just about. We're getting on. Karen, anything else you want to bring up or say or talk about, or um are
I'm
we
go
done?
I really enjoyed this. I love
Well, good.
your show, and I love the comments and everything, and it
Thank
just
you.
gets me more revved up to, do another book, and people can go to my website, KarenLaven.net, and you can contact me through there, and if there's ideas, whatever you have stories you want to share, maybe that will help. I'm at the point, I'm on the thing, but I need the jumping off thing. And I'll go, yep, that's it. Cause
Yeah.
how books go, paranormal or not. If I hit on the thing that, and I feel it, then it basically writes itself and it's awesome. So that would be great.
Yeah.
Also, little extra plug here. I was in a movie, Mothman, and it's on Amazon Prime and YouTube and Tubi. So if you want to
What
see that,
year?
pardon me? We
Is it
just did
an
it. I filmed it in May and it's out now. So it was really fun and it's kind of a cool movie. So it was fun to do.
Okay,
So
Mothman,
yeah,
2023. It's on Amazon.
2022 actually. I mean, because
2022.
it would probably be, I think it came out.
And you played the role of
The mother of the main characters. Yeah. The
yeah,
mother. I
how
play a
big of
lot
a
of
role
mothers.
was it?
Uh, it's pivotal, dear.
Okay.
which
Okay.
means not that big. But I'm at the beginning of the film, and I've my daughter's
Okay.
interviewing my
No,
son
that's
disappeared.
cool.
So yeah, I mean, it was really fun. It was really cool and shot in Ohio, so
Nice.
beautiful, right around Athens.
Gonna
So
have to
yeah, so
check
it's
that
cool.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's paranormal, so I can slide that in there.
Oh, heck yeah. No, that's good. That's good. I like it. Um, okay, well, Karen, man, this was fun. I love the stories. I love the chat. You guys were awesome.
Thank
Um,
you.
that's
Yeah,
what
you
makes
were.
this so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Karen, it's these people are fantastic.
they
And
are.
yes, yes, yes.
They
And
are awesome.
it's been really nice talking to you. And I hope the books do okay and you continue on with your journey and
Yeah,
keep diving in, right?
I will, and I'll keep watching your show. It's
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
You have a very great
Awesome.
style, and I love your audience, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to put you off to the side and you can close your browser out at any time and
Okay.
hopefully I'll be in contact in the future with you at some point maybe, but if not, it was very nice to meet you and talk to you and thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Dino. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so there you go. More stories of the ghostly haunted. Listen, we touched on a lot of different things on tonight's show, right? And you guys were pivotal. Again, coffee shop, of course. Gotta say, man, love the coffee. But anyways, thanks, great show. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Overkill. Even Keanu Reeves saw a ghost. Listen, people turn a blind eye towards the field, and I think all of these shows on TV have kind of uh, made it bittersweet to even think of ghosts and hauntings in the paranormal now. Um, Hopefully it changes, but I'm trying to keep it alive as best I can because there's something to it. And if you just turn a blind eye towards it, you know, and listen, we're all older here, you know, we're thinking of what's, you know, after all of this, right? So you can't turn a blind eye to it. You know that there's weird, strange things going on in this world, and we need to either figure it out or continue to do the investigation and come up with new ways, new techniques of figuring out what all this is about, because I want to know, right? I want to know, and I'm sure you guys do too. But yes, again, thank you guys, each and every one of you in the chat. Again, thumbs up, comment if you want after the video stream's done. I will see you overnight for more Leonard Nimoy hosting and Vincent Price hosting. The first one was great. So, this continues along. There's some great stories in them. I've listened to all of these stories and they're all fantastic. So, I will see you there. Tomorrow night, I'm not sure if something pops up. I think tomorrow night I'm off, and then me and Ted on Wednesday talking Dr. Death. And then there will be something up Thursday, and then Elise on Friday. It's not posted because we film and then edit and then put it up. She will be talking about the entire Stranger Things franchise leading up to the new season. So you're going to have another retrospective from Elise on Stranger Things from the beginning to the upcoming season. So that'll be fun. And Dino, just look at the first 7 seconds of that video. It'll freak you out. Okay. I think you're right, Dino. Thank you, being after dinner, paranormal streams. Okay, Edward. With that said, man, I don't know what more to say except much love to each and every one of you as always. Hi, boy donuts to my friend Dennis, and much love to you, my friend. And I will talk to all of you guys very soon. Continuing on this journey. We're about 400 away from 100,000 subscribers. So we're almost there, maybe about a week.